Yes, everybody, it's that time of the week again, bitch. Welcome back to another fascinating episode of Old School New School Comedy Podcast. And I am your host, Christy Miller. And we are broadcasting in the Red Room of Broadway Comedy Club this week.
Red Room.
Because they are working on the main room. So we're going to be red this week. Hello. Anyway.
Fantastic.
Are we though? With me this week is a very dear friend of mine. He's probably one of my best friends in the whole fucking world. And closest thing I have to family. Is it though? He's a long-time comic. He's a writer. He wrote from everything from Ellen's sitcom, Ellen DeGeneres' sitcom, all the way up to SNL. So you name it, he's written it. So really funny. He calls his company 17% Funnier, and he's hysterical as fuck. And give it up for Erik Marino.
Oh my God, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, I can make anyone 17% funnier. And the reason you wanted Pride, yes, it's June.
Yes, it's Pride Month, people here in America.
And my great contribution to the LBGT community is that I was a writer's assistant. My very first year as a writer's assistant, I was on the episode where Ellen DeGeneres came out of the closet. That's one of my. So my credits is you asked me how do I want to be introduced? Well, he wrote for Ellen he wrote for SNL Weeds in the episode of Ellen when she came out of the closet. That's what I did. I was there. I was a writer's assistant. So for all you gay people, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. I did that. That's right.
So what was that? Because what was that, the mid-90s? I can't even remember anymore.
So it's the summer of 1996,
yes.
And I was, I get hired, I'm a writer's PA. I get hired on Ellen Season 3, which no one will remember. No one will remember Ellen Season 3. I'll do whatever you want with the microphone. Go closer.
Yeah.
All right, I'm loud.
Yeah.
Whatever has to happen.
Though?
Yeah, I'm the loudest person you ever meet. My whole head is like a woofer.
We should measure our heads and see which one's bigger. Because I have a big fucking head, dude.
Yeah, but it's pound for pound. I'm projecting more sound. It's crazy. You've never met anybody louder.
You're a baritone.
I don't even know. It's not a question of anyway. Tone. It's a question of decibel. I mean, you're talking about somebody who could work with like Don Barris and Leslie Jones and be yelled at and be like, yeah, I'm cool. Like I can take the noise.
A little closer.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so it's the summer of '96, and that is between season 3 and season 4. And okay, so the show Ellen's old sitcom.
Yes.
I mean, that at the time that was truly the sitcom about nothing.
Yes.
I mean, Seinfeld loves to say, "Oh, we're the show about nothing." No, like
Ellen really is about nothing.
It was about nothing because it's one of the jokes I like to say is that I'm so old is that when I worked on the Ellen show, Ellen was straight because when I get there, like Ellen is dating guys. They're doing sort of a version of Mary Tyler Moore
right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
They're doing a version of the Mary Tyler Moore show where Mary Tyler Moore was a single independent woman. And she'd go out and have terrible dates.
Yes.
And, well, Ellen Morgan would go out and have terrible dates, but maybe because she had no interest in them ever being any good.
Yes.
So
she was rooting for failure.
Right. And so one of the things that had happened is it was a great staff on season 3, and they were nice enough to train me in as a writer's assistant, which means you get to sit and you sit there with a legal pad and you listen to what all the writers are saying. Mm-hmm. And you write down all the notes. I mean, you keep notes of what every single person, if Ellen went to the army, she would do this. If Ellen did this, and then it's if, and, with, and all the different permutations and all the jokes and yada, yada, yada. So then it's summer of '96, and I'm expecting to go back on Ellen and get promoted to writer's assistant. And I get a call from the then script supervisor, Susan Bazarski, a good friend of mine. And she's like, okay, I'm about to tell you something, and if you tell anyone, not only are you not going to get the job, you're going to get fired, and we're going to run you out of town. I was about the 17th person professionally to know that Ellen was going to come out of the closet.
Is that where the 17% Funnier comes in?
It's one of the many parts. 17 goes on a lot of ways, but it is one. I was with the 17th person. It's what Ellen had a party with the writers, and she'd gone to Disney, and she wanted the show to be about something. And so what we did is, if you look it up on Wikipedia, you look up the puppy episode, and that was the code that the writers had on the wall. It was like for the 22nd, 23rd episode of Ellen was going to be Ellen gets a puppy. and that was code for Ellen's going to come out of the closet.
Right.
And we had laid things in that Ellen was unhappy, and Ellen went to therapy that season, and that was one of those things that it was a big secret thing that Ellen was going to come out of the closet. And every time it got sort of leaked to the press that fall, and every time it got leaked, people would come to us, the writer's assistants, and be like, you guys are leaking. And it's like, no, we're not leaking. But every time we sent our documents up to Disney, oh my God, a leak happened. Do you know what I'm saying? Because there was some assistant, some executive, somebody had an agenda, and they wanted, and so it would be in People Magazine, or it would be in the National Enquirer. And so it was a super secret. And I mean, it was a crazy season. You know, I mean, we met Oprah, and we had bomb threats. I mean, we had to evacuate, like in the taping of that episode, we had to evacuate the stage. We had swept there were bomb sniffing dogs. Yeah. People really didn't want Ellen to come out of the closet. Now, this was also an interesting thing that just recently at Epcot, the big sphere that Epcot's known for, well, that was like the world of energy. And they had, that was the ride or the little experience that you went through. And they had just put like Ellen animatronics in that. So that was also one of those things, like there was a worry that like the Christian right could boycott Epcot. And like, they're like, we just paid X million dollars to renovate and put Ellen everywhere.
Right.
And if now you come out, there was no idea what could happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that was a really interesting point of, and my great contribution that I like to say, because it won an Emmy for writing. It was like, so Ellen DeGeneres wrote it in concert with the show headrunner. The showrunners were Mark Driscoll, Dava Savell, who I had known from our previous show, and then Jonathan Stark and Tracy Newman, who are writing team, who were Groundlings. Mm-hmm. So they were like the head. That was the top 4 writers, the 2 showrunners, Mark and Dava, and then the writing team of Newman and Stark. And Tracy Newman is also Lorraine Newman's sister.
Right.
And they go all back to the Groundlings, okay, like that. And and then Ellen gets the writer's credit. Gil Younger directed, and it was one of those. I mean, it's a crazy time. I mean, it was the 90s, so it's like she comes out in 97. It's also by this point she's dating Anne Heche, which she wasn't dating Anne Heche when we actually shot the episode.
Sure.
And then she starts dating Anne Heche, and she's now with Anne Heche when the whole publicity happens.
Right.
And, Anne Heche was a whole interesting period in itself.
Yeah. That was, I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Oh, do you, boo.
It was crazy. That was watching, and then it was like, oh my God. So Ellen was first of all, Ellen is a lovely person. Like, I want to say that. Like, I mean, everyone, she has a reputation. I didn't work with her this is 25 years ago or something like that. Yeah. Oh God, it's almost 30 years ago.
Yep.
That's how crazy it is. It's so crazy that I told you about this the other day, was that I was reading, somebody was doing a Pride. An out lesbian was writing a lovely story, their own personal story for Pride. Oh, right, this writer, it was on the HuffPost. Her name is Shaylee Howard, and she's writing this lovely story about how she was an out lesbian who had, I think she's in like the Oregon, Washington area, and that she'd been, she'd been on some billboard, like she was some out, she was very publicly out, and she'd been on this billboard, and a family of an 8-year-old girl who had decided that she was gay. I mean, she just, she knew that this 8-year-old girl knew that she was gay at a very young age. They
usually do.
Right. And so the family asked if this woman, Shaylee Howard, could come and speak to their daughter.
Aww.
And so I'm reading this, like, this was June 1st, the first day of Pride, and I just happen to be, it's like the first thing I happen to read. It's like, I'll read this little story. And I'm like halfway through, and I'm reading this, Shaylee Howard is just, she's out, but she's also talking about like growing up in the 70s and 80s, and her own journey, her own path to coming out. And then she's like, okay, it's the mid 90s, and I have a girlfriend. And then there's a whole paragraph. She's like, and then Ellen DeGeneres came out of the closet. Right. And she reads this whole thing, and I was just like, there's a crazy moment where you're like, me and all the writers and my friends who worked on the show, it's like we were there for this moment. And it was this thing that touched people in a way that here I am reading it, that it had an impact of It had ripple effects that I can't even.
You won't even be able
Right.
to fathom how much of a
Right.
ripple effect Ellen in the mid-90s,
Right.
when we're supposedly open-minded,
We
came
weren't.
out.
We weren't.
Exactly.
We weren't.
That's my point. Like, we're supposedly like, oh, no, it's not. And
No, that was Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
yeah.
I mean, that's what that 4 years earlier is like Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Yep.
Which led to more problems.
Yes.
And now it's like it's even the fact that you and I are of the age. sorry, that the fact that gay marriage has been the rule of law for over a decade and just is I don't think I saw that. It's weird. I don't think I saw that coming. I mean, I didn't see it as so ingrained, and it's a fact.
Yeah, and the nice thing is that everybody that was so scared of gay marriage and it goes against the Bible and this and that, and it's like, did it change it? Did it hurt anybody? No.
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 My marriage and your marriage don't hurt each other.
Nope,
you know what
they
I mean?
don't
Like,
work. It doesn't matter who you sleep with or who you're married to. It doesn't affect my life.
It makes more money. It's more money for the florists and the caterers. It's like it's pro-business.
More exactly. I always said there's more ordained ministers now. There's more florists making money. There's more event space being rented.
And if you don't want to, if you don't want to sell them a wedding cake, then you're a bad business person.
Yeah, then you suck, dude.
You know?
They probably won't want to eat your cake anyway. Nasty. It probably tastes like beige.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, think of the runway models in the wedding party. Like, I always said, if I got married, I would want the House of La Beige as my wedding plot, so they could just vogue down a ballroom down the aisle.
House of La Beige.
House of La Beige, and then death drop right at the altar. Like, I always wanted that. Like, I pictured that in my 20s. Like, yes, I need this to happen. And I'm still single. Anyway, so.
I hear you.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, but you were a part of history. Like, people don't realize, like, you know you were, because it was like a big deal back then, but then you don't realize you're so far away from it that you forget that you were that what you guys did then is going to have this long-term effect.
I mean, the script. So the original. So it's called the puppy episode,
right?
And that was and so like when it's a two-parter. So it's actually like an hour-long script. So it's about 60 pages long, and the original script was actually, we had special Xerox paper that was blood red from the Xerox company, because it's you can't it's so dark, is like you had to sort of read it at an angle.
How dark is it?
It's so dark you can't re-Xerox it. You can't copy it. It's like that if you got a copy of the script and you tried to put it through a copy to make a copy, you couldn't. And remember, we don't have, it's like, we're still using film, guys. Like, this is 90, this is not, so it's...
There's no cell phone. There's cell phones, but they weren't like they are now.
There are cell phones that are phones,
bricks.
but they're just phones.
In a suitcase.
Right. It's like they don't have, I guess, digital...
Pagers.
I had a pager. Digital cameras, I guess, were just starting. I mean, the digital technology is happening.
It was just, because they were...
But they have like the disc cam. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're trying to still sell you film.
Yeah.
You know, right. Kodak is making mistakes and is about to go.
Yeah, it's about to belly up.
Yeah.
Kodak be gone.
And ruined the whole city of Rochester, New York.
Aww.
No, that's where Kodak is from. Like,
is it really?
Oh yeah. It's like
is that where the orange guy comes from?
No, that's Syracuse.
Okay. It's all the same to me. Above Westchester, it all looks alike to me.
I mean, that's
I got a point.
Central New York, yeah.
Central. Is it though?
Sure. Okay.
But that, I remember watching that episode on, like, I couldn't wait to see it, because I was like, oh my God, this is this big secret episode. And
sure.
And I was just like, I was so happy when that happened, like in the airport, I'm gay, through the intercom.
That's right.
I was dying laughing, and then the toasters and all the other lesbians came and gave her gifts. Now you're in the club. Like, all the stereotypical jokes were so well done in that episode.
That was the tag of that episode. Right.
Yeah.
So it was also like, it's an amazing thing. It was like, okay, so the cameos that are in that episode are insane. It's like Demi Moore, Billy Bob Thornton. So Laura Dern plays the love interest.
Yes.
But then Demi Moore, there's like a dream sequence, and Demi Moore and Billy Bob Thornton and Dwight Yoakam is in it. A very young Georgia Fox, who, like, she's not, like, CSI doesn't exist yet. Like, she was like, she had just done like a couple episodes of ER or something.
Right.
And I think that was also when we were doing the Ellen. We would change every week. every show had a different opening title sequence.
Right.
And so, like, I think Melissa Etheridge is the singer of that week because
that makes sense.
Because
she was on it too, which was hilarious. Didn't she give her the toaster? Wasn't it
maybe
Melissa Etheridge?
Maybe that's what it was.
Like, you're part of the group now you get the free toaster. Like,
I might be wrong.
It was hilarious.
I might be wrong. That might have been that. It's like, because I might be wrong about who was the singer of because it was like Devo and Stomp, and we had so many crazy.
Right. Well, you might not be wrong.
Sheryl Crow, you know what I mean? Like,
that's right.
I mean, it was every week would be a different person.
It was so well done, and I remember it being so fucking funny, and just like it was basically the plaid elephant in the room. You know, it was like you guys addressed every little straight visual stereotype that straights would say about gays and made mockery of all. It was really well done. I enjoyed it.
There was so much stuff about it. I mean,
I gotta watch it again.
I gotta tell you, one of the craziest things is like, so Ellen also did an episode of Larry Sanders, the Gary Shandling show. I
love the Gary Shandling show.
But she almost did a better episode on Larry Sanders than she did on our show because she got to play herself.
Ah, that's true.
And it was the whole thing was, I mean, this was the whole thing where everyone was trying to get Ellen to, you know, like, this was before there was Marvel leaks, and you can't say anything about leaking Marvel. It was like everyone was trying to get Ellen to basically come out before she came out.
Right.
And it's like, so, you know, and she would go on Rosie O'Donnell, who, by the way, wasn't out of the closet. She was Rosie O'Donnell's show, which was, you know,
we all knew that big trucker. Oh,
right, but she wasn't. But
but they weren't out publicly. None of them.
That's
were.
what
None of them were. That's Melissa Etheridge was the only one.
It was Melissa Etheridge and Katie Lang.
And Katie Lang, I forgot about her. Yes.
That was it.
Yeah, that was your lesbian population.
Right, and Martina Navratilova. You mean like there were athletes?
Sure, and then the Indigo Girls. That was there.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But it wasn't like a big.
But you're saying musicians?
Yeah, musicians were out, not actors.
Some athletes, right. And it was like, so you knew that these, but they weren't publicly gay. So there's even a moment where, so Ellen is on Rosie O'Donnell's show, and they're making all these jokes about her coming out as Lebanese.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, and they're dancing around it, it's all cute, but that's even what I'm saying. It's like, Rosie O'Donnell has not yet come out, is not publicly, and then, I mean, this is a person who is publicly married to a woman and will adopt, but that's going to happen
late.
That's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
After this. And so there's an episode of Larry Sanders where, you know, Gary Shandling's playing Larry Sanders, who's a talk show host, and he is having Ellen DeGeneres playing herself as a guest on the Larry Sanders show and trying to get her like, hey, so I hear, are you gonna, and it's like, and then Ellen and him sort of have a flirtation, like Ellen sort of hits on him.
Right.
And it ends up that Larry and Ellen sleep together in the episode.
Right.
And then Larry's all confused about that. And it was like, there's a certain point where you're just like we've worked so hard and we have this blood red paper and we've kept this secret and our jobs are being threatened. And then it's like Ellen goes off and does this episode of Gary Shandling that's like, it's almost better than what we did. You know? But I mean, she didn't technically come out. She played it beautifully. She played it the thing. And then, and one of the things that people forget too is that there are 2 episodes. So that was actually the third to last. It was a double episode. It's an hour long, but it was like we had to do 2 more episodes. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is like the next episode is Ellen has to tell her parents.
Right.
So Ellen has called up to the audience. She's told everyone in the airport, which by the way, one of the extras in the airport is her actual mother, Betty Degeneres, which is great. And sorry, it's also one of those things where I always remember the production meeting. The director, Gil Younger, who directed 10 Things I Hate About You, he was going to direct that. He's like, I have an idea. We need a dog. I need a dog. And it was like, so it's like when Ellen says, I'm gay, like in the microphone, there's gonna be a dog that goes, and Gil was like thrilled with this idea. You know, and you're kind of like, okay.
Right,
I mean, it's like, it's funny. I'm not knocking it, but also like, maybe you're a little too excited about it. Yeah. So, I'm sorry,
you're just flying all over the place.
Just adjust me. And so one of the things I always remember that, and this is something that literally almost no one could tell you, is the episode was written by Jan Nash. Okay. And Jan Nash was a former Disney executive, mm-hmm. Who was very she had been a champion of Ellen in the Disney studios.
Sure. And
she herself was gay, and so she was out and very funny, very amazing person, and now, but she's sort of it was sort of different for an executive to come through and then become a writer. You know what I'm saying? Like this person had literally been giving us, they would give us the Disney notes on what we think of your script. And now for this special season, she's come on and she's a writer on the show, and she's great at. And she gets the writing assignment for this episode, where it's the follow-up episode. Ellen, this is the one that doesn't have cameos. It doesn't have any big, it's like, but the episode is Ellen's going to tell her parents.
Sure. And
Jan based it on her actual life, in which Jan, a person who came out when she was in college, I believe, she had written a letter to her parents. And so she wrote this based on her own life, in which Ellen writes a letter to her parents. And then we're in the Monday table read. And this is where, executive Jan had given it, where Jan would be giving notes, but now Jan Nash is the writer and she's receiving notes. And Ellen actually says, of all things, she just goes, I mean, who would ever write a letter to come out like their parents? It was like it was devastating to Jan. That it was like
Jan's like,
yeah, because it's one of those horrible things where something you did that was based on her on the writer's real life.
Yeah.
And that the people were like,
that would never
happen.
Do that dumb thing.
Right.
And the dog goes, ooh. See, people, that's a callback, ladies and gentlemen. That is a callback.
I got a little thing I want to do there with the dog. Okay, Gil. All right. Sure. Okay.
That's hilarious. No, it's just me. Oh, that's awesome. So you've written on everything, and...
I'm like the Forrest Gump of comedy. I'm one of those people that somehow I was there when Ellen came out of the closet. I can actually say, so my very first job in the business is I'm a production assistant. Which means being a production assistant means you Xerox scripts, you deliver scripts in the middle of the night, and you go get lunch orders.
Yes.
Okay, that's your production assistant, a PA.
Yeah.
And so my very first job, I'm a production assistant on a show. It's on Must See TV Thursday night. It's called Madman of the People with Dabney Coleman, and rest in peace to Dabney Coleman, who just recently passed at 92, because he was the guy that gave us our first start. But here's the thing. So just to give you, this is fall 1994.
Okay.
At 8:00, there's a show. There's a hit show. It's Mad About You with Paul Reiser and Helen Hunt. At 8:30, there's a brand new show. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Friends, just starting. Right.
Friends. That sounds familiar.
Right. At 9, Seinfeld. Right? 9:00.
Isn't he a comedian?
Yep. Okay. At 9:30, there's going to be... At 9:30, there's our Dabney Coleman, Madman of the People. And at 10, there's going to be another new show, ER. So it's like hit show, Friends, monster shit show, hit show, Seinfeld. Literally 5 million people would turn off TV, go walk their dog, put their kids to bed, and then they'd come back for that last new show, ER, also hit show. Literally, we got canceled. We were number 6 in the country. We were and people now would die for the ratings that we got. It was just we were in that night court hammock spot. You're in the, you know what I'm saying? It's but 6 million people would change the channel, go to bed, do something else, and then they'd come back for ER in a half an hour. And so Dabney Coleman was not a hit, but that's also where I first met Dava Savell, who would end up writing the Ellen
puppy episode.
The puppy episode, yeah.
That's amazing.
Really? That's right. Okay, so it's so I was there, and then I go to oh my God! I actually, in between that, I worked briefly at Extra as a camera coordinator during the OJ trial. Okay, yeah. I mean,
I'm not a smart man.
Right. So then I go to Ellen when she comes out of the closet, and then, God, what else did I do? I work on Weeds. I was a script coordinator on Weeds. I worked on 2 shows with Cedric the Entertainer. I did Cedric the Coach, which was bought by Fox as a pilot, but never actually aired.
Right.
I do a pilot with Wes Craven and Sean Cassidy called Hollyweird, which also, I guess I've done 2 shows that got put on the fall schedule, both by Fox, and don't ever actually air. Yeah. So I work for Wes Craven on a show with Sean Cassidy. Yeah.
Was Craven and Sean Cassidy together?
Oh yeah. And I was a huge Hardy Boys fan. Like I
love the Hardy Boys.
I had the action figures. I had like oh my god, yeah. And that show, Holly Weird, was Shane West, who was Shane West was a young star to be Bodie Pine Elfman, who was married to Jenna Elfman. And Melissa George, who was a young starlet actor who had been on Dark City. That was the movie that she was coming off. And it was like one of those, like it was like sort of a supernatural mod squad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like it was trying to be in that Buffy, like there's creepy stories in Hollywood, and we're brought to you by Wes Craven.
Yeah.
And
these are all true, and we're getting canceled. Good night.
They actually was. It is all right. That's true. Man.
Yeah. Let this.
Okay, I'm gonna let that pass. And all right. So then, I work the. Oh my God! So I'm on That's So Raven. In fact, oh my God, 9/11. My 9/11 story is unlike I think anybody else's. That when I'm in Los Angeles, as you were, because we'd been at an open mic the night before. We had been in an open mic.
Yes, we were.
Right. Okay. So we were in an open mic the Monday night at the Crooked Bar at the Coconut.
I missed the Crooked Bar
at
nights.
the Coconut
Those
Teaser.
were so fun.
That's right. And that Tuesday morning, I was due to have a job interview on the TV show that became That's So Raven.
Right.
That's right. So by the way, one of the crazier things is like Tower 2 has fallen. It's one of those things like America's in its biggest crisis. What are we going to do? Biggest upsetting thing since, this was the Kennedy assassination meets the Challenger explosion. You know what I mean? It's all combined. And I'm still printing out resumes and calling like, hey, I hope everyone, I'm like leaving messages like, hope everyone is okay. I'm assuming we're not going to meet today, but if so, I can be down in Santa Monica. I got the job. I was very conscious. We rescheduled. I got the job. That's So Raven. She didn't see it coming. She did. She was psychic. She did not see that coming. Oh yeah.
Hold on. There you go.
Thank you. And then I actually briefly left the first season of That's So Raven to go shoot the pilot of Cedric the Entertainer Presents on Fox, which was a sketch show, which had like JB Smoove. You know what I mean? And the writers' room was like Louis C.K. and Greg Fitzsimmons, and one of the best writers' rooms, Jay Johnston, who's a January 6th insurrectionist now. He was on Mr. Show and it showed up at the Capitol. Oh sure. Like so that's one of those weird things. And then later on,
so Jay, was he a comic or just a writer?
He's a comedic actor. He'd been in Mr. Show, like he's in Mr. Show,
okay.
and he was a writer of our. He was seriously one of the most talented writers. Cedric the Entertainer Presents was one of the best. I mean, that was also the one. It's like 2002, 2003, and this is before Louis FX Louis. Like it's about
before. Yeah.
Right, it's about 6 years before. It is one of those things like I saw Louis coming. Like I got to read stuff.
He's so great.
He's very.
I'm sorry, he's so great.
He's very. Well, just don't go back to his hotel room. That's.
Hello. Sorry, Louis. I gotta go home. That's all it takes. But you know what? At this age, at 53, Louis, if you want me to watch you jerk off and I can be open for you for 20 minutes, let's fucking do it.
Right. So that's and then Weeds. I was there for the first 2 seasons of Weeds, and then
I never watched that show.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Because there was a point that there was pay cable, and I just stopped watching pay cable because I think I was
broke. It's on Showtime.
Yeah.
It was and I'm sorry, I forgot.
I remember the show, and I would see clips, but I never actually sat and watched an episode.
Well,
that one in 6 Feet Under, I didn't get into till later.
So the thing about Weeds is very interesting.
It was like for me, it was like that kind of genre thing.
Yeah. It was on Showtime. It was a hilarious time to be working. It was a lot of sitcom writers that were now doing single cam. So there's a difference between multi-camera, which is like Ellen, Cheers, Seinfeld, Friends. That's
typical.
Right. That's 4 cameras shooting in front of a live studio audience. But like Sex and the City, The Wonder Years, Weeds, that's a single camera.
Yes.
It's a half an hour, but it's shot like a movie. It's shot like a drama.
Yes.
Right. So there's one camera, and we're doing everything's edited. There's no studio audience, and if and when you watch, the first season is very much like It's episodic. Sorry. It's Mary Louise Parker.
Ellen's in the weeds.
God, what was her name? God, now I've lost it. So Mary Louise Parker.
All right.
What was her name? Anyway.
It'll come to you.
Yeah. So.
Where's the dog?
And it was one of those things where it's very like Ellen. I keep doing that. Mary Louise Parker will go to. She goes and sells weed at a college, or she finds out about like this was 2005. It was dispensaries were like a brand new thing.
Right.
That might have been okay. So it was very episodic, and one thing led to another, and it was like we were doing a half an hour, and then at the end of season 1, the 10th episode, was called "The Godmother," is actually the writers considered that the pilot for what's going to be season 2, where we find out that Mary Louise Parker has slept with an FBI agent, the guy that she slept with, because she was a widow. Like she's a widow, she's raising 2 kids in the suburb, and she's selling weed on the side.
Yes.
It's like
now
one of those,
it's coming back.
Right. It's one of those, like, in some ways, like, so like, for example, like when I watch Ozarks with Jason Bateman, right? So, but that's but when I watch Ozarks, I was like, oh, this is what it must have been like in a way to watch Weeds as a viewer. Because they're dealing with family stuff, and you're dealing with the illegal crime, the illicit crime that happens underneath it. And there's, they're raising 2 kids, and there's okay, it's great.
Hey, you want to be on the mic?
So
takes all kinds. Everybody wants to be a comic. Did you hear the one about the?
It's got a lot of buzz going on, that guy.
Wait, hold on. Do it again. Do the line again.
No, I'm not doing it again.
Fuck you. All right, so back to.
So then that was when it became the season 2 is more of a continuing. It's like you have to follow along. There's a continuing story arc that goes from episode to episode, and we're doing it like that. Yeah. So, God, it's gonna kill me.
Just call her MLP.
Oh yeah, she was. God, a very interesting person. She was a very interesting person. That was, by the way, I'll tell you this. That was the time, and the other thing I forgot to mention, I worked as a writer's assistant, and my first writing assignment comes from working on the Hughleys. So I was like,
oh yeah.
Right.
Can't forget that.
That's where that's a
big part of you.
I leave working for Wes Craven. I leave working for Wes Craven to go work for the Hughleys. Like it's like because it was.
Right.
When you see Deal's name for the first time,
does Hughley?
Yeah, you don't know. That's not like
Hughley.
Hughes. You get Hughes. You know, like Hughley. Okay. Like it was like okay. So it's one of those weird, like I said, I'm a guy in the shadows, guy behind the guy, unmade man, the Henry Hill, and I went across the street to Renmar Studios for that. It was 2 seasons of that, then 2 seasons of Weeds, and oh my God, and Cedric the Entertainer. I write for lesbians and black people. That's what I do. I write for lesbians and black people.
Yes. And then I met you in 2000 when you came to the Comedy Store.
You meet me because I was supposed to go on. You meet me because I had been promised to be on season. I write the last episode of season 2 of the Hughleys, and. I had a story credit, and I had a writer, and I had written a whole script by this point, and I'm supposed to be on season 3. It's 2000, and they end up the showrunner Matt Wickline and John Bowman, who was the creator of Martin, who created Shanae. It's an ABC show. ABC decides at the last minute we're not going to pick up the show. Okay, now there goes my promise, but UPN's going to pick us up. But when UPN picks us up, they want budget cuts.
Sure.
So budget cuts happen, and then Matt Wickline and John Bowman are like, we're not going to do that. We're gonna walk away. And when they walked away, unfortunately, my promises
walked away too.
They did too. And all of a sudden, that was my time. When you meet me, I live a block and a half away from the Comedy Store, and I had moved there when I got the job at the Hughleys because I wanted to be closer to the Comedy Store because I was finally going to start doing stand-up again on my own.
Right.
And, oh my God. And I'm working at Guinness Book of World Records. I'm working for the Fox show Guinness Book. I'm a researcher. I actually got a native Alaskan, an Inuit young man, a Guinness Book World Record because he can jump and kick higher than anyone Like he can put his foot above a basketball hoop.
Wow.
Yeah. He can do it from a running start. He could kick something 11 feet, maybe 13 feet high. It's insane. And by the way, he smoked a pack of cigarettes and had McDonald's like right before he did it.
He's a Native American.
I mean,
They're made better than us.
It was one of the greatest things too, because so it's a weird thing. You're working as a researcher from Guinness Book of World Records, and now I hate making cold calls. I don't know if you like.
I hate it.
Right, I hate. And it's like, you're selling magazines, or you're working for like, you're calling for PETA or SPCA. You know what I mean? You're doing these weird things. But I'll tell you this: when you call for the Guinness Book of World Records, when you're calling people that are daredevils, or these people are trying to get records. It's one of the greatest, like, everybody loves the Guinness Book of World Records. Like, you have never known. Like, the only people who do not like your call are people who have grudges. Okay, because there's something, well, y'all didn't give it to me before. Right?
Why now? Who died?
Right. And there were a lot of Evel Knievel affected a lot of men.
You think?
A lot of people.
You think?
And there was a certain point where, like, we don't care. The Guinness Book had to basically say, it doesn't matter if you jump over buses or whatever. It's just distance. It doesn't matter what you're going over. It's just distance. You know what I'm saying? There's one record and whatever it is. But then I had happened to look up this. There's a real thing called the Inuit Eskimo Games in Alaska. And they have all these interesting, like, they do this ear tug of war. Like, I mean, they put wires, like me and you would be even closer. We'd have like basically these wires that go to both and you're just tugging, And by the way, you can slice an ear right off. Right?
Well, that sounds fun.
Oh yeah, that's one of the games, right? And so then I happen to see this, you're doing research and you see that, like, this young man has, like, he put this, he can kick this thing like 13 feet high. And then I happen to, like, all right, well, let me go in the Guinness Book and see what this record is. It's like 9 feet, 11 feet. I'm like, this guy's gonna crush it by 2 feet. I'm like, oh yeah. So I call this guy in Alaska, and I can't tell you how, like, I'm like, hey, so I'm from Guinness Book of World Records, and we'd love to fly you down, and we'll put you up, and you get to be on a TV show, and you could make a world record, and like, he's like, you interested? No. He couldn't have been less interested. He couldn't have been.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No, you meant very interesting. Guinness Book of World Records was fascinating people, especially. So I had to ask. Like I said, these I was one of the things I did was a lot of the extreme sports,
right,
and a lot of and daredevils.
Right, okay? I remember that show.
Okay, so and like for example. There was and this was also like, so this is 2000. So you're like very raw internet, like you're
right.
searching.
Yes.
Like there's
dial up. It's terrible.
Sure. Yeah. And you're just finding websites, and you'd have to find sort of facts from fiction. And like there's this guy who's a skydiver who would jump out of a plane without a parachute, right? And so he's jumping out of parachutes, and he's like grabbing onto another buddy, and so the record would be like highest parachute jump without a parachute on when you leave the plane, right? But one of the things you had to do was like find out, like, hey, do you have any safety? Do you have a backup chute somewhere on you? And the guy had to be like, well, yeah, I do. Like, it's a trick, it's a thing, but it's like, so it's like, that's entertaining, and it's great. It's great for his viewers and whatever.
Right.
I mean, there's no social media, guys. There's
no TikTok.
Right. These guys. Right. So he's just doing video. I mean, I guess there's maybe there's YouTube. Maybe?
Oh, there's clips of that on YouTube for sure.
Sure, but so.
Oh, back then, YouTube was only 10-minute long clips.
Sure.
And it was really weird. Like it
was, but that was like the beginning.
Yeah, it was the very beginning.
And then it was really about going to everyone's individual website.
Right.
And so and then I always remember. So I'm talking to some guy, and his quotable quote for me was, and I have to ask him. Okay, do you have any safety harnesses? Do you have any? You know what I mean? Do you have a parachute? Whatever. He's like, I am a daredevil. If I was to use a safety harness, backup chute, or other trickery, then I would be a thrill performer, and I am a daredevil. All right, you're a daredevil. Okay, now that's a difference. Okay. And by the way, if you didn't know, guys, that's the difference between a daredevil and a thrill performer. I am a daredevil. Okay.
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 You are.
Right.
Are you though?
Right. So that's what I'm doing when you meet me.
Right.
Because it's like, because I'm not on the season 3 of Hughley's, and it's finally like I've written for Ellen, I've written for D.L. Hughley, I've written for Cedric the Entertainer, and now I had to see if I could do it on my own.
Right.
And the one thing I could say about Weeds, going back to Mary Louise Parker, was that was the first time I worked with a lead actor that wasn't a comedian. Like,
that's true.
It was weird. I'd worked in the world of sitcom, and so in one way, even like Ellen was the writer of the puppy episode, and DL, I don't think took any writing credits, but they were always, these guys are comedians, these stuff is based on their lives, and so they're in the writer's room and they're working with the writers. So DL's a big part of it, Ellen's a big part of it, Cedric was a huge part of it, and so they're part of the process, and so it's like we're on the same team. Whereas it was one of these crazy things where we had been working the very first week on Weeds, the very first week I'm in at Weeds, I'd been sitting with the writers, we'd been breaking all the stories for season 1 of Weeds, and then Mary Louise Parker, and we're all excited to pitch all these stories to Mary Louise Parker, and she comes in, and you could see her face like she wasn't sold. She wasn't on board, and it was always like, I was very surprised. But the lesson I learned was if you were in Los Angeles in 2005, everything had her face on it. Weeds was billboards and buses and everywhere.
Yes.
And I had a greater appreciation than I ever had before because, she wasn't a stand-up, and it was one of those things like no one knew that Weeds, you didn't watch Weeds.
Right.
And Weeds was on Showtime. It wasn't, by the way, it wasn't a hit in season 1. It became a hit because iTunes came out, and then you could binge it at the end of season 1. It became Weeds became one of the first bingeable shows.
Right.
And so that
I remember.
And that was one of the things where I got a greater appreciation that, Mary Louise Parker was this actress, and her face was on every billboard and every bus in Los Angeles. And if the show had not done well, all the writers and me, the writers assistant script coordinator, we go on to other shows. But this, like Dabney Coleman on Mad Men of the People, that goes as a minus on their
right, 100%.
It's their face.
Yep.
They're
the brand.
They're the brand.
Yeah, they're the brand. It hurts them, not the staff, definitely. But I want to cut to now in New York.
Okay.
That you came here. We hadn't seen each other in a long time. I didn't see a lot of people. I didn't talk to a lot of. I just kind of disappeared, and just found my New York family.
Sure.
Because I needed to go through some things.
Sure.
But it was cool though that you came to New York and started working on SNL with Leslie Jones.
Again, that's the right. That's my Forrest Gump. I was like, I helped Leslie Jones. I was her writer and opener, and helped her get on SNL. And then she was a writer for half a season, and then she gets on the show for the 40th season, and then I come on 27. I do a season in 2017. Yes. So I've been here going to be 7 years.
Yep.
I still feel like a new New Yorker.
No. I've been here 19 years, and I feel like I've been here a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I guess I still feel like I spent like half my life in LA. Yeah. So there's a weird part where I still feel like Yeah,
I was born and raised in California, and I moved here when I was 34.
All right. So SNL, what do you want to know?
Well, I know everything, but I just want to just tell me just tell everybody what you how all that work with Cedric and DL and all that with all the comedians working with them Now you're in the writer's room at SNL. Now you're an actual writer on SNL. You're not an assistant anymore.
Right.
So now it's
a dream job. It was also one of the craziest things where, it came out of, not that it came out of nowhere. I had submitted for 3 years, and I'd been ghostwriting and writing for Leslie behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And in a weird way, some of my best stuff that got on the show got on before I was a writer on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa. Okay, mood lighting. Something happened.
Something happened.
All right, we're taking it down a little.
Yeah.
All
so we got to wrap up anyways.
Okay. So now we're in it, and it's pressure like you've never had. It's I think I've told you, 60 things get written every week. Only 40 will get read, and then of that, only 12 get put into production, and 9 will make air.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot.
There's a million ways to die. Mm-hmm. And at first, when you're a rookie writer, the first couple weeks, you can't even get your sketch that you write and you work so hard on, you can't even get it in the packet. Like you're not even, it's not even going to get read. Right. And the other rookie writers are like, are you in the packet? Are you in the packet? Did you get in? And you're like, oh, I got one in. And then you get so excited when you finally get one in the packet that you're not even aware that you don't even understand that it could bomb. And it bombed. I wrote this sketch that I had based on My Mother's a Cop, as you know.
Yes.
So Chance the Rapper is going to be the Thanksgiving Day host, for Thanksgiving show. And so I'm very excited that I've written this. Leslie's going to be my cop. It's called Cop Mom, and Leslie's going to be this cop, the mom of Chance the Rapper at like the 6th, 7th grade dance. It's based on my own life. I mean, I'm in love with this idea. It's my life is this, and I get to do Leslie and Chance the Rapper.
This is your letter to your parents.
Oh my God, it's so great. And I'm so excited. Right, it's so excited and everything, and like the crickets didn't like it. Like I'm telling you, even talking about it now, it hurts me now to remember how badly the silence had silence. Oh. It hurts me. It was like, you're like, I didn't even think about it. And so here's a crazy thing. It's like, it doesn't matter if, it doesn't matter how funny you thought it was when you wrote it on Tuesday night. It doesn't matter how well it does on Wednesday. It doesn't matter how well it goes in rehearsal. It doesn't matter how well it does in the dress show, the 8 o'clock Saturday night dress show. I once wrote an update for Leslie, and I was visiting, and she crushed it. Like, she crushed the dress show. She crushed it, and it's like, oh, it's great. But then the live show, like a B plus. Like it wasn't a grand slam. It was like, it's a hit. It's a double maybe, but it wasn't out of the park. Right. Like, and she'd crush it out of the park. And so that's one of those things about Saturday Night Live is if you don't hit it out of the park when it's live,
it don't matter.
Nope. One of the greatest things was, I remember in between shows, one of the other writers was just like, why the fuck does this show have to be live?
That's the point.
Right. It's also one of those things that people really, comedians, everybody, we all think of it as a comedy show because of sketches and because of the updates and weekend update. It's not that. It's a variety show. It's completely different. That it's like, and to anyone out there who wants to write the SNL packet, really know that one of the secrets is writing for the guest host, because it's like, this week it's going to be Larry David, next week it's going to be Gil Gadot, and then it's Kamal Nanjiani, and then it's like, Jared the Subway guy, maybe. It could be anybody.
It could be anybody.
It won't be Jared the Subway guy, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like whoever. Like, why Elon Musk? Because when it was Elon Musk, that's what everyone was talking about, cryptocurrency. People were talking, like, when it was October 2015, and it was like Trump was in the news. Like, it was like
he was gonna gun for the primaries.
SNL is a magazine show. It is about. It's like
a trade. It's like the New York Post. It's like the Huffington Post. It's like Page 6.
Or like an ice core sample. It's like you go back and you go, this is May 1986. This is March 2017. You know what I mean?
It's all current events. It's all It's all, whatever's happening in the moment is happening on SNL.
And that's why Lauren will say things like, "Why now? Why now?" It's like, and I wrote something because the Houston Astros had just won the World Series, and when we wrote a weekend update, Leslie meets the world champion Houston Astros, and that's great. But one of the things Lauren says to me, and it's like my one real notes from Lauren is like, remember, there are guests. We it's like, don't make fun of them. Don't, we've invited them. And then lose the balls. There was a joke about Leslie they were gonna give her, like, I love balls. Like, they were gonna hand her a T-shirt and balls, and so I had to go back to Leslie and go, Lauren says lose the balls. Because Leslie's gonna go, I love balls. And Leslie's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna say that. But this is what's great about Lauren. Lauren is a Zen master. Like, I will never say anything bad about the show. I mean, I would go back tomorrow. Look. I literally every day I worked on SNL, I skipped to work. I remember. Because I was living my dream. Yeah. Every night I came home, it was like a crushed Coke can. Yeah. All right. Just so you guys know, first week on SNL, greatest week of your life. Second week, okay. Third week,
kill yourself.
Third week, I came home
crying.
I walked into my brand new apartment, unlocking the door on the phone with my agent, going, I'm all alone out here, crying, just crying.
And then you guys should do like an SNL writers support group.
Oh my, yeah.
You know, and sit around. Oh, that was week 3, huh? Like, you know, you can
Oh,
tell
I mean-
like your emotional state. Oh, week 3, you'll get through it, buddy.
See, that's one of those things where I think, like, sometimes I want to go, like, you know, Lauren, with what I learned now, I could really help some of the young people. It's like, he doesn't want to help the young people.
No,
like,
he
that's
doesn't.
part of it's a part of the process, and some will rise and some will fall. It's Thunderdome. There's too many people. There's too much talent.
Yes.
That's one of the big
It's
secrets.
so much talent in
Yeah.
those 4 walls. Oh
Yeah.
my God. And
And-
everybody is great at what they do.
And when people go, oh, it's not funny, it's like, you know, it doesn't even, like, you don't understand what SNL is. You
Yeah.
don't understand how big it is, that it's a huge show. It's a massive engine for branding and everything else. And sorry, I lost track. It also short circuit my brain sometimes.
I
Like,
know.
SNL is a little crazy.
No, SNL is really great. Well, you'll have to come back on
I
and
guess.
tell us more stories because you have a zillion of them, which are amazing. And as I always do here at Old School New School Comedy, is I love to wrap up the show with 2 questions. Everybody gets it. It's funny and
All right.
stupid, okay?
That's
And
right.
question 1. Is there a bit a comic has written that made you go, God damn it, that's brilliant. Why didn't I see that first? And what was it?
Oh, okay. Well, it has to be John Little's. It has to be John Little. Our friend John Little has a bit where he would talk about that he always wanted to marry Lisa Marie. He wanted to marry Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis Presley's daughter, and
Yes.
have little Elvises, so the little Elvises would come to him with their problems. Hey, Daddy, all the kids at school are making fun of my cape. What should I do?
Daddy.
Hey, Daddy, the first grade is going on a field trip to Vegas. I need to sign my permission slip. We're going to Vegas. Hey, Daddy. Hey, Daddy, last night I saw Grandma Priscilla on Naked Gun, and I feel kind of funny. And that's wrong. That's wrong. I don't want to be right. It's always John Little and his crazy fucking little Elvis. The little Elvis is coming to them with their problems. Hey, Daddy, all the kids at school are making fun of my cape. What should I do?
What do I do?
What do I do? Yeah,
It's so funny.
yeah. I mean, little Elvis is coming to you because he's wearing a cape. Little kids wearing a cape. It's little Elvis wearing a cape.
And little jumpsuits. With
Yeah,
stuff
you
on-
see it. That's the thing.
And little pompadours.
That's the greatest thing.
It's the visual.
The greatest thing is the greatest thing as a comedian, you put the
You
audience.
speak in pictures.
The audience puts the picture in their head.
Yeah,
You
you're
complete
able.
the- yeah.
You say it in pictures, so the audience, that's how they read it. It's amazing.
What should I do?
What do I do, Daddy? And the last one is because Paul Mooney always closed his shows with street jokes.
Sure.
And crush, and he would Mooney-ize them. He would a Mooney twist
Sure.
them and destroy and dying laughing. No one's funnier telling street jokes than Paul Mooney was. So I always say, like, you know, as comics, we like to sit around and bust balls or try to say stupid jokes and dad jokes, street jokes. Do you have a go-to street joke?
Well, my favorite street joke. Okay. Well, I guess I have 2. I
Okay.
have 2. My first is a knock knock joke. You start.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
I don't know.
That's fine. See, it's like you make the other person start the knock knock joke. That is one of my favorite things. But my favorite street joke is the McGregor joke, which is a man. You don't know the McGregor joke?
I'm just say it because
Okay.
it doesn't matter if I know it or
All
not.
right, so a man goes into a bar. Visits a bar. It goes to Scotland. A man is in Scotland, goes into a bar.
That's so ironic.
Right? And a man goes to a bar in Scotland. And the bartender goes up, and the bartender says, "Do you know how I am? Do you know who I am?" The guy's like, "No." It's like, "My name's McGregor, and I built this here bar brick by brick. But do they call me McGregor, the bar builder? No." "And look out there yon window. You see that there pier? I built that there pier, plank by plank. But do they call me McGregor, the pier builder? No. But you fuck one goat." But you fuck one goat. That's the
Yeah,
joke.
I know that joke.
Of course everyone knows that joke. But I got told that joke by a beautiful woman, like she was like 25 years old. It was like at the old Dublins.
Oh, yeah.
Gorgeous woman, 25. And she told the joke better than I've ever heard her do it. She's like, McGregor, blank by blank, no. Gorgeous woman telling a funny joke, man. That's the ultimate.
Well, it's a good thing there's not one here. Anyway.
No.
Anyway, I love you so much.
Well, thanks
you
for
are
having
my
me.
family. And tell everybody in the nether interwebs is at Old Skool New Skool Comedy Land where they can find you on socials and if you have any shows coming up.
All right, so I will be. Oh my God, I will be. You can. Where am I? My Twitter is That Marino. My Instagram is The Real Erik Marino.
No, it's the Erik Marino.
Oh, The Erik Marino. I'm sorry, my Venmo is Real Erik Marino. If you want to send me money.
Yeah, send money.
My manager charged me $10 last night for a pizza. I didn't even get a pizza.
Rude.
Well, she's my manager. I'm gonna give her. She wants $10 for pizza. Okay. You answered the phone when I was crying at SNL. I'm gonna send you $10.
Yeah, there you go.
And then I'm on Facebook, and I do a morning. Every day I do a hashtag My Morning Fortune Cookie. I mean, follow all that.
Yes.
And I have shows. I'll be at 101. I'll be at 101 on June 15th.
Yep.
And I will be at the Cats. I'll be in the Catskills with Rebecca Kaplan in July.
Okay.
And then go on my Facebook.
And then June 27th, not June 27th, July 21st.
Yes.
We will be at the Degeneres Music Hall in Teaneck, New Jersey. It's Erik Marino, me, Mike Bichetti, and Mark Riccadonna. It's going to be a fire show. It's going to sell out, so get tickets now at degeneresmusichall.com. And I'm Christy Miller, and don't forget to follow the show here at Old Skool New Skool Comedy on Instagram, and also, like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify, and just like and subscribe and share the show. We love you.